A slice of adventure. Ella. This is urgent. Tessa's frantic voice crackles through the voicemail. You have to help me. Call me back ASAP. I scroll through the rest of the missed messages, every one from Tessa, each more panicky than the last. Curiosity and concern grip me, and I quickly dial her number. What has my spirited girlfriend gotten herself into this time? Ella. Tessa breathes out on the first ring, sounding relieved and flustered. I am so glad you called. Can you come over right away? What happened now? I inquire, an amused smile creeping on my face. Please tell me you didn't accidentally summon a demon with one of your baking experiments. It's not that bad, she protests, her voice rising. I lost something really, really important. Lost what? Well, it's kind of a secret. A secret. I chuckle, picturing her wild gestures over the phone. How am I supposed to help you if I don't know what's going on? Okay. It's my secret blend of spices for my Fall Harvest Festival cake. Tessa admits. I wanted to create something unique this year, but I think someone might have taken it. Are you serious? My amusement fades as I realize how serious this sounds. Did you get robbed? No, she exclaims. There's no sign of a break-in. I just can't find the jar. It's like it vanished. Tessa, I say, what does this jar look like? It's this cute little glass jar with an old-fashioned seal, about the size of my fist. The spices are colorful and aromatic, and I have to have it for the festival happening this weekend. Did you check the bakery? I ask, trying to piece things together. Maybe it ended up there by mistake. I asked Marissa and Sam, but they haven't seen it. I feel like I've looked everywhere and no point in stressing about it, I cut in. I'm just a few blocks away. I'll come over and help you search. I can't believe you would do that for me. Tessa exclaims. I owe you one. When I arrive, Tessa opens the door with a burst of energy, pulling me into a fierce hug. Thank you for coming. Always, I say, shaking off my coat. Now, where could this jar be hiding? I've looked everywhere. Tessa sighs, waving her arms dramatically. But I trust you'll figure it out. Just think of it as a scavenger hunt. With that, we dive into her cluttered apartment, pushing aside books, discarded clothes, and half-finished projects, searching high and low for the elusive jar. After what feels like hours of digging, we're empty-handed, and I can see frustration mounting on her face. Hey, don't let this get you down, I say, wrapping my arms around her. Are you sure there's no way you can make a substitute? Yeah, but I didn't think I'd need to, Tessa admits, running a hand through her tousled hair. That blend was going to give my cake a special edge that others won't have. Maybe just refocus on what you do best, I suggest. Your baking has always brought people joy. Tessa offers a small smile. You really believe that? Of course I do. We're in the middle of a fall festival, there's bound to be some amazing flavors aplenty. She sighs, but I can see her resolve slowly building despite her earlier disappointment. Thanks for being here, Ella. I'm glad I found you. Now, I say, standing and brushing my hands off, you need to take a breather. Get some fresh air before you drive yourself mad over a jar. Yeah, that sounds nice, she agrees, a hint of brightness returning. Want to grab a pumpkin spice latte? Absolutely. I say, and we head out together, arm in arm. The next day dawns bright and crisp, an ideal cool autumn morning. As Tessa and I stroll through Riverton's annual Fall Harvest Festival, I can feel her mood shifting from anxious to elated. Vendors are showcasing colorful gourds, warm pastries, and flapping flags in every seasonal shade imaginable. Look at all these treats, she says, eyes sparkling. Maybe I can get some inspiration for my cake. Just don't eat too many, I tease. We still need to work together to make a masterpiece. I take her hand, squeezing it lightly. Have you thought any more about that secret spice? I have, but it's in the past now. I'm grateful for what I have and for you being here with me, Tessa replies. We meander through the festival stalls, tasting caramel apples and sipping warm cider. Everything feels perfect, a cozy tapestry of fall. I lead her to a quiet garden area adorned with fairy lights. Looks like the perfect spot for a surprise, I say, glancing back at her as I kneel down on one knee. What are you doing? Tessa gasps, eyes wide. Outside, the festival buzzes with laughter and music, but I can only focus on Tessa. Tessa, you've brought so much joy and color into my life. I want to savor every moment with you, I say, pulling out a small velvet box. Will you marry me? Her mouth drops open in surprise. Oh my God. Ella. Is that really? It is. I want to spend my life with you, always, I say. So, will you accept this as the first piece of our adventure? Yes. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Tessa squeals, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. I slide the ring onto her finger and she practically tackles me in excitement, enveloping me in a whirlwind of happiness. Can you believe you were going to lose it because of a spice jar? I chuckle, catching my breath. It's part of my charm. She grins and with that, she leans in for a kiss that tastes as sweet as the festivals around us. As we pull apart, laughter and warmth envelop us like the evening air, full of endless possibilities. Our journey together has only just begun. Continue the story. Engagement were a whirlwind of excitement. Tessa was still buzzing from the festival and our engagement, her joy was contagious, and I found myself falling deeper in love with every smile she gave me. Our hearts danced to the rhythm of whispered plans and shared dreams. Let's celebrate. Tessa announced one morning over breakfast, her eyes sparkling as she lifted a pancake to her mouth. We can't just keep this to ourselves. We need our friends to know. I nodded, already sensing the chaotic joy that came with Tessa's infectious enthusiasm. What do you have in mind? I was thinking a small gathering at the bakery. A little, we're engaged. Party, just our closest friends and family, she suggested, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. We can bake together. I'll whip up a new cake recipe to celebrate, and we can have cocktails and games. That sounds perfect, I replied, my heart warming at her excitement. Let's set a date. We can make it a cozy, intimate affair. We spent the following days planning the celebration, a vibrant contrast to the intense hustle of the Fall Harvest Festival. Tessa spent hours in the bakery experimenting with new cake flavors, inviting Marissa, Sam, and a few others to stop by for taste tests. The air was filled with the sweet scent of creativity, and I was there, packing boxes and capturing candid moments of her joy. The day of the gathering was upon us before we knew it. The bakery was transformed into a cozy, autumnal wonderland, adorned with twinkling fairy lights and pumpkins in all shapes and sizes. Tessa had pulled out all the stops, and everything looked perfect. As our friends arrived, laughter and chatter filled the space, and I took a moment to soak in the warmth of it all. There was a sense of community and love that wrapped around us like a comforting blanket. Tessa glided around the room, her eyes alight with happiness as she introduced our guests to her new cake flavors infused with unexpected ingredients. Try this one, Maple Pecan Delight. Tessa offered, a slice held triumphantly in her hand. It's definitely got that fall flavor kick. Delicious. Marissa exclaimed, shoving the whole piece into her mouth, cheeks stuffed. You have outdone yourself, Tessa. I couldn't stop smiling as I watched Tessa revel in the attention. She was an artist, and this night was her masterpiece. Let's gather everyone for a toast. I called out, raising my glass of sparkling cider. Everyone turned their attention to me, curiosity sparkling in their eyes. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate with us. Tessa and I have shared so much love and laughter, and now we are embarking on a new adventure together. Here's to love, friendship, and to all the sweet moments yet to come. To love. Everyone echoed back, their voices mingling in the air like the notes of a jubilant song. Now the cake cutting. Tessa said, practically bouncing with excitement. She and I stood in front of a beautifully decorated cake that was tiered and embellished with autumn leaves and flowers. On the count of 3. I suggested, squeezing her hand with a grin. Okay. 1, 2, 3. We exclaimed in unison, bringing the knife down together, cutting into the layers of fluffy cake while cheers erupted around us. Tessa's laughter echoed, and it reminded me of why I loved her so deeply. After the cake, we played games, and the evening flowed with light-hearted fun. I watched as Tessa engaged everyone with her charm and delightful quirks, sharing stories that left us in stitches. There was a moment when we found ourselves snuggled on the couch together, sharing a slice of leftover cake while our friends mingled around us. I can't believe we're engaged, I whispered, laughter still dancing in my belly. Tessa looked at me, her eyes glowing with affection. Me neither. It feels so right, and a little crazy, she chuckled, before leaning in to kiss me softly. The world outside faded away, leaving just us, cocooned in our bubble of joy. As the night wound down and our friends began to disperse, I couldn't shake the warmth radiating from my heart. Tessa had created this lovely moment where we could all share in our happiness, and it filled me with gratitude. Once the last guest left and we were finally alone, Tessa turned to me, her expression softening. You know, this is just the beginning, right? Absolutely, I replied, my heart swelling. There's so much more to come. What do you think our wedding will be like? She mused, a dreamy look in her eyes. I want it to be vibrant and full of laughter, just like tonight. I want the same, I agreed, reaching for her hand. Something that reflects us. A blend of our favorite things, maybe some fun activities, beautiful flowers, and a cake that will blow everyone's minds, I chuckled. Of course. We'll make it personal, and nothing will be traditional or dull, Tessa declared, her determination shining through. It will be our celebration. Just you and me being our crazy, loving selves, surrounded by the people we adore. Then let's start brainstorming. I kissed her cheek and nudged her playfully, pulling her closer. Because I already love the dreams we're building together. As we wrapped up the last of the decorations and headed for bed, I realized just how lucky I was to be on this adventure with Tessa. The journey toward our wedding had begun, but what truly mattered was the love we would continue to nurture every single day. And as Tessa nestled beside me, her warmth radiating against the cool sheets, I couldn't help but feel that we were a perfect pairing, two souls entwined, ready to explore whatever life brought us next. Tessa and I fell into a comfortable routine after the engagement. Each morning began with coffee and laughter. We'd often find ourselves discussing the wedding plans that seemed to bloom with each passing day. We were like kids in a candy store, buzzing with excitement about our future together. One sunny Saturday, we decided it was time for a proper adventure, something to shake up the routine of wedding planning. How about a day trip to Ashwood Lake? Tessa suggested, her eyes alight with enthusiasm. We can hike, enjoy the views, maybe find a spot for a picnic. Now you're speaking my language. I agreed, grabbing my camera. Let's capture some memories. The drive to Ashwood Lake was filled with laughter and playful banter. The windshield was rolled down, and the sweet scents of late summer wafted in as Tessa sang off-key to her favorite songs. I joined in, harmonizing badly, but we didn't care. It was about the joy we created together. When we arrived, the sun glimmered on the water like diamonds scattered across a blue blanket. Trees with leaves turning shades of amber and crimson framed the lake, creating an idyllic backdrop for our adventure. Tessa grabbed a picnic basket filled with homemade treats she had prepared the night before, her excitement infectious. First, we hike, she declared, leading me down a winding path lined with wildflowers. The sounds of nature surrounded us, birds chirping and leaves rustling in a gentle breeze. The air was crisp, filled with the anticipation of new memories. As we explored, I pulled out my camera to capture Tessa in her element, her laughter, the way her hair danced in the wind, the sparkle in her eyes as she pointed out interesting rock formations or native plants. Look at this one, she said, crouching beside a patch of wildflowers. Isn't it beautiful? I snapped a picture, taking in the way she interacted with nature as if she were part of it. You make everything sound so magical, I teased, joining her on the ground for a closer look. Not all of us are big fans of bugs. Maybe you just need to embrace the wild side. Tessa laughed, nudging me with her shoulder. Besides, they're just little friends trying to live their lives. We hiked up to a scenic overlook that provided a breathtaking view of the lake surrounded by pine trees and rolling hills. Wow, I breathed, taking it all in. The colors were vivid under the midday sun, and I felt infinitesimal in the vastness of nature. Tessa slipped her hand into mine, and we stood in comfortable silence, contemplating the beauty before us. This is perfect, she finally said, her voice soft. I've always loved places like this, where everything feels alive. Just like us, I replied, turning to her. We're building our own life together, full of love and adventure. With a grin, she tugged me back down the trail. Come on. I'm starving. Time for that picnic. We found a cozy spot on a grassy knoll overlooking the shimmering lake and spread out a colorful blanket. Tessa unveiled her homemade sandwiches, an assortment of treats, and a bottle of sparkling juice. Feast your eyes on this. Seriously, I can't believe you made all this, I marveled as she piled food onto my plate. You're like a culinary magician. She beamed at the compliment, taking a big bite of her sandwich. I love baking and cooking, especially knowing you'll enjoy it too, she said, her mouth full, causing me to laugh. As we shared our meal, we began to talk about wedding details again, our conversations drifting between ideas for the venue. Should it be intimate in the garden or grand at the lakeside? Meanwhile, Tessa tossed crumbs to a curious squirrel, which quickly scurried up closer with keen interest. Okay, I think we should go for outdoor decor, Tessa said, her fingers gesturing animatedly. Imagine fairy lights in the trees, glowing lanterns everywhere, and maybe a giant cake set like a centerpiece. I smiled at her excitement, but a thought nagged at me. What about the dress? Have you found one yet? Her eyes sparkled with mischief. Oh, I have a surprise for you. I found this cute boutique that does custom dresses, and I already scheduled an appointment next week. Can you hold off your excitement until then? Surprise dress shopping. You know how to get me on the edge of my seat. I exclaimed, fancying the thought of her trying on gorgeous dresses. I can't wait. After finishing our meal, Tessa suggested we explore the lakeshore. We walked hand in hand, skipping stones into the clear water. You know, she said thoughtfully, my grandma used to take me here when I was little. She always said that nature helps you feel grounded. Did it work? I asked, watching her smile grow wider as she recalled the memory. Absolutely. I always felt free and at peace, she said, looking out over the water. And now, sharing it with you. It's even better. Here's to more peace and freedom, I said, raising an imaginary toast. To our adventures and memories. As the sun began to lower on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, we decided to return to our earlier spot for one last look at the lake. We sat side by side, my arm wrapped around her shoulders, pulling her closer as the evening air grew crisp. This day turned out more perfect than I imagined, I whispered, gazing at her profile. I can't believe how lucky I am. Tessa turned, a heartwarming smile lighting up her face. I feel the same way. You make everything better. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow across the water, she leaned in, and our lips met in a sweet kiss, sealing this beautiful day in a memory that would stay with us forever. No matter what challenges lay ahead in planning our wedding or navigating life in general, I knew we would always find our way back to this feeling, together, grounded in love and adventure. As we packed up our picnic and began the drive back home, I felt a sense of peace settle inside me. Whatever the future held, we would embrace it, hand in hand, ready for every twist and turn in our journey. I could hardly wait to see what was next. The drive back was filled with the fading sunlight casting a golden hue over everything, making the world outside feel like a living postcard. Tessa hummed softly as we cruised along the road, the sound mixing with the fading echoes of our laughter from the lake. As we neared home, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. We had shared so many beautiful moments that day, and it felt like a glimpse into our future. You know, I began, breaking the comfortable silence between us. Today was special, not just because of the adventure, but because it reminded me of what really matters. Tessa turned to me, curious. What do you mean? That we can turn ordinary days into something extraordinary simply by sharing them together. I want every day of our lives to feel like this, full of small adventures and nestled in love. She smiled wide, her eyes sparkling in the dim light of the setting sun. Me too. That's why I want our wedding to be just the beginning of all that. A celebration of who we are and what we can create together. Once we arrived home, Tessa immediately started sorting through the pictures we had taken that day, eager to capture each moment. I helped her tuck the picnic blanket away, noticing the way she thrived in the small moments of life, so effortlessly creative. As we sat on the couch later that evening, Tessa scrolling through our photos with a beaming smile, inspiration took hold. What if we started a scrapbook? She suggested suddenly. A wedding planning scrapbook filled with ideas, plans, and our memories leading up to the big day. Yes. We should document everything, our adventures, thoughts, dreams, and of course, all those little spontaneous moments, I said, my excitement growing. Tessa's face lit up as she pulled together supplies, and soon enough we were knee-deep in colored paper, stickers, and memories. We laughed over silly pictures, snippets of our day at the lake, and scribbled ideas for our wedding. Okay, for this page, we can add quotes. What about something like, "Together is a beautiful place to be"? I suggested, and Tessa agreed, excitedly jotting it down. As the hours passed, we shared stories about our families, what we envisioned for our lives going forward, and how our wedding would reflect our journey together. Finally, as the sun set fully and the stars began to twinkle outside, I felt a wave of contentment wash over me. I turned to Tessa, and the glow of the lamp caught the sparkle in her eyes. Tonight wouldn't have been half as fun without you here, I whispered, my heart swelling with love. Same here, she replied, leaning against me. And just think, this is only the beginning. We already have so much to look forward to. In that moment, I realized that our adventure wasn't just about the wedding, it was about the life we were building together, filled with moments, laughter, and love. As we nestled in, Tessa rested her head on my shoulder. I can't wait to see how it all turns out, she said softly. Neither can I replied, kissing the top of her head. The days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, the wedding day had arrived. The air was filled with excitement and nerves as we both prepared for the big moment. Tessa wore a stunning custom dress that she had tried on for me weeks before, and seeing her now in all her radiant glory took my breath away. We had chosen an outdoor venue surrounded by the same woods where we had walked hand in hand weeks ago, the golden leaves creating a magical setting for our ceremony. Our friends and family gathered, smiling and enveloped in the warmth of the loved ones that filled the space with joy. When it was time, I stood at the altar, my heart racing as I watched Tessa approach, a bouquet of wildflowers in her hands. Her smile was radiant, and I felt tears prick my eyes as I took in the moment. As we exchanged vows, I felt like the world was melting away, leaving just us in our bubble. Each promise we made felt like an extension of all the delightful days, adventurous hikes, and cozy evenings we had shared. I promised to always savor the memories we create, to embrace the wild moments, and to love you fiercely, Tessa said, her voice steady and full of emotion. I vow to support you in every dream you chase, to turn every ordinary day into an adventure, and to stand by you through it all, I promised, overwhelmed with joy. As we sealed our vows with a kiss, a cheer erupted from our guests. The moment felt surreal, filled with an electrifying energy that only comes when two souls unite in love. The reception that followed was equally beautiful, filled with laughter, dance, and absolute love. We shared our first dance under twinkling lights, feeling like the only two people in the world. As I held Tessa close, I realized that our adventure was just beginning. The years ahead would bring challenges and triumphs, but I was prepared to face them all with her by my side. Here's to forever, I whispered, pulling her closer. To forever, she echoed, her eyes bright with happiness. Surrounded by our friends and family, we danced the night away, lost in laughter, love, and the promise of all that lay ahead. In that moment, under a canopy of stars, I knew we were exactly where we were meant to be. As the final songs played and the night began to wind down, I took Tessa's hand. We've turned ordinary days into something extraordinary. I can't wait to see where our journey takes us next. Neither can I, she said, leaning in for a sweet kiss. And just like that, we stepped forward into a future filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities, a life intertwined, a beautiful journey awaiting us both.